Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's Field Instructor Training Series. The topic of this session will be supporting the self-directed learner. So I'm excited to get started. First, we want to reflect upon the question, what motivates you to be a field instructor? For me, I am motivated to be a field instructor because I had awesome field instructors. They really helped to shape and to mold me into the social worker that I am today. And they really coached me along the way. And so being a field instructor is my way of giving back and helping to prepare my future colleague. So. Just wanted to recap upon the first training series that we had, or the first training session, upon the purpose of field education. And so the purpose of field is to connect classroom knowledge with practical real-world experience. And so classroom and field are both equally important in developing professional competencies, especially within the social work field. And designing, supervising, coordinating, and evaluating are all systematically brought together to provide a really strong experience for these students. For the BSW students, they are at field approximately 16 hours per week for a total of 225 hours total, both semesters. And for the MSW students, they are also at field about 16 hours a week, a total about 300 hours for 3 semesters. And so just keep that in mind as you guys design activities with these learning competencies that we're going to go over later, and just think about their time that they have there to complete projects and to accomplish their goals. And so we're going to dive right on in. And we are going to identify the self-directed learner. And so self-directed learners, they intentionally seek learning, they take responsibility, they plan their learning, and then they evaluate outcomes. And so we have 2 authors, and I love this quote, and they state that individuals take the initiative with or without the help from others. They think about their learning needs, they formulate their goals, they identify resources both in the community, human, online, that can help them with their learning. And so that's a self-directed learning. They really take charge in their learning to accomplish those goals that they have. And so Cole was a learning cycle. We're going to go over this for just a minute because the field education process is not just an internship, it is a learning experience. And so we want to remember that when we have these students at our agencies. And just remember that it is a learning experience for them. And so the first step is the concrete experience. And so that is the hands-on activity that allows the student to grasp that new knowledge that they are experiencing or that you are providing for them. Secondly, they are going to reflect upon the observation. And so during that time, the learner thinks about what they just experienced, and then they're going to reflect upon their own perspective and then connect those underlying concepts, connect what they've learned in the classroom to what they're learning at their internships. Next, the student understands the information that is being taught. And so if you guys are working on an activity, say with a client, and in supervision, you guys go over why you selected that particular activity with a client or use that particular intervention with that client. That's their way of understanding exactly what is being taught and really how they can use it in the future. And then lastly, that is active experimentation. And so the student or the learner is going to engage again, but apply that new knowledge and creating that new interpretation for themselves. And so that's that learning cycle. And it takes time to get in the swing of things, but just understand the student's learning mindset, and just remember that the field experience is a learning opportunity, not just an internship, but it's so important. And so as field instructors, we want to model thinking skills. And so we're just going to go over a couple of these. As field instructors, we are encouraged to exhibit empathy while supervising and coaching students. We want to display a genuine interest and commitment to continuing education. If our students want to go to, say, a free training in the community or that another agency is hosting, we should encourage them to do that, but we may want to participate also. And so let's display that interest in continuing our education also. We want to reflect upon our own experiences, just as we did earlier. We want to allow students, especially these interns, to assist in the decision making at our agencies or where they are they're interning. It's so important that they feel that they're a team member, especially related to their learning and their own evaluation, and that encourages them to form their own opinions also. As field instructors, it's important that we admit our own mistakes and our own faults. We all have them, and so it's just a gentle reminder that we're not perfect, and it's important for our students to remember that too, that we're not perfect. We are all learning together. And so, just a couple bullet points for you. Just remember to model those thinking skills, and so our students can be stronger also. So, supporting the self-directed learner. I have listed just a few tools for you. Of course, there are plenty, but I've listed a few tools for you. As we are thinking about supporting our learners, and we'll dive right on in. And so the first tool is that the practicum activities should increase the student's skill satisfaction. And this is so important because if the student is dissatisfied, they may be unmotivated to practice these skills. And we don't want that. We want them to feel engaged, feel a part of the team, and really that they're making a difference. That does not mean file papers. Though filing papers is important because it has to be done, that doesn't mean they need to do it for the whole, say, 7 to 8 hours that they're at the agency. They need to feel like they are a part of that, they are satisfied, so they continue to do great work. The second tool I have is that learning should focus on strengthening specific skills, not just generalized assignments. And so a generalized statement in the learning contract, and we'll get to that in just a minute, but a generalized statement may say working with clients. But that's not enough. Specifically, you can say that the student a goal is to manage a case from intake to discharge. And so that's specific enough that they know what their end goal is, not just general working with clients. And then a third tool is that students should focus on the educational aspect, or field instructors should focus on the educational aspect of what the student is doing. And so, say for instance, you are working with a client, and you and the client sat down together and worked out a plan of action for them to accomplish their goals. Well, in a larger framework, that may be solution-focused theory. And so during your supervision with the student, talk about that. Talk about, we're just not implementing this activity for the client. It has a larger framework. And so that really helps the student to reapply what they're learning in the classroom, which was a part of the learning cycle. And so just a couple tools to help you think about the learning contract and why we implement some of the tools or some of the strategies that we do to help these student learners. And so I talked a little bit in the slide previously about the learning contract, and I'm going to show you one in just a minute. But what is a learning contract? And so a learning contract involves a student taking primary responsibility for planning, implementing, and evaluating their own learning. And that is exactly what a self-directed learner is. And so I am going to click right here, and I'm going to show you guys a couple examples, and then we're going to do an activity together. So if this is coming up here. Let's see here. Let's change this. Okay. So this is an example. I adapted this this learning contract from the University of North Carolina in Wilmington, and this is just a sample. If you look, the goal is standard, and the student learning activities and the evaluation criteria was actually completed by an actual student. So I thank them for letting me use this. But we are going to just look at a couple. And so the larger goal for the social work education is that the student has opportunity to engage with clients who represent diversity and difference to enhance understanding and inclusiveness in practice. That's a lot. And so a student may say, well, how in the world am I going to do that? And so that's what these learning objectives are. And so if we look at A, this says they are going to explore oppression and power of imbalances. And so a student may say, I want to research oppression in criminal record within population who have criminal records in Wilmington. And how are they going to know that they achieved that? They're going to discuss that with their field instructor. Well, that's not enough. The student can accompany you on a meeting with the community, and then you guys could talk about that in your session, in your supervision. We're going to jump down to C, and a student may have a goal, or the objective is to work collaboratively with clients and coworkers. And so a student may say, okay, well, I'm going to use the solution-focused model one-on-one with a client. And they are going to observe the way that you as a field instructor do that, and then you guys are going to talk about it. But it's okay to talk about it, and especially in supervision, but really talk about how solutions-focused theory, why you use that. It's important to talk about that you did it, but why. So it goes back to that learning model that we discussed earlier. Oh, let me scroll down a little bit. Alrighty, and so I had this activity that would be ideal if you had a partner, so I encourage you guys to do this at your agencies, but we're going to go down a little bit, and we're going to focus on goal number 2 right here. And so the learning objective that the student plans on achieving is that they understand and participate in weekly self-care. And so the student wants to take time for themselves once a week. And how are they going to know that they have done that? They are going to report to their field instructor what they did. Well, that's not enough. That's not enough. We're all trying to practice self-care. And so something that the field instructor can do to support the student is once a week have supervision outside at the picnic tables if it's a nice day. Or you guys just have your supervision, or walk around the building outside the perimeter of the building or inside the halls. Practice that self-care. You're getting out and getting some fresh air, but you're also achieving that goal. And so it helps them to see that, okay, this is a way that I can achieve this goal, and that this is an important strategy for social workers or for anyone working with the public. And so we have a few, and I will upload this whole document if you guys would like. But these are so important for us to remember as we are supporting our learners. Okay. And then the last reflection question is that if a student remembered only one lesson from their experience with you, what would you like that to be? Just think about that for a minute. For me, I would like a student to remember that they are able, that they have the abilities to achieve, to make a difference in the community. Sometimes we forget that, especially once our internships end, that, oh no, I don't have my right hand right beside me, but I want the students to know that they have made a difference, and that they can continue to make a difference. And so thank you so much for tuning in. Here are the references from today's session, and I look forward to you tuning in to the next Field Instructor training series. Have a great day.